Around, don't get caught in the mosh pit. Fuel to the fire, ain't nobody can stop it. Trouble in my city, but you know I'm across it. Got a 40 on my hip and I'm liable to spark it. Throw down these hits, my click is indivisible. I aim, you duck, I squeeze, now you invisible. I'm not afraid of getting physical. All these different chemicals are fogging up my visuals. Bloods on my hands, got slugs on my gunners. Yo, we notorious, we ain't no runners. Bloods on my hands, got slugs on my gunners. Yo, we some warriors, they ain't called gunners. Bloods on my hands, got slugs on my gunners. Bloods on my hands, got slugs on my gunners. Put on my sweat, put on the beat, put on the map, put on my team. Take out every motherfucker in between, know what I mean? Better myself, better my aim, better my rep, better my name. Killing rappers on my hang, I'm by the chains for the fame. Never thought I would, and now I'm running. You don't wanna follow me, now I'm fucking front.
What's going on? Welcome, good evening. We are back. We are back with a brand new episode of At Night with Steve the Kidney Nurse. 2026 style, baby. What's going on, everyone? It's great to be back on YouTube doing the podcast. Tonight, we have the first interview of 2026. This gentleman is no stranger to kidney disease. In fact, we met maybe like 2018, we did an interview. 2018, that's like 8 years ago. He had a transplant, and then sometime after, his transplant rejected. And then years later, here we are. Let me read you his bio. This is Alex Berrios, a two-time kidney transplant recipient. Over the last 5.5 years, he was doing both dialysis and PD. And I'm now a PD nurse. And February of 2026, in fact, February 22nd, 2026, he was blessed with the gift of life. He was able to receive another kidney transplant. Now, right now, Alex is currently a little over a month from the surgery, and he's still recovering in the Big Apple. All right. Now, he says he's had a few bumps along his journey, but nothing he can't handle. Now, before this transplant, Alex was doing various jobs in consulting in the kidney disease space. You see him on Facebook. He worked for different kidney disease management groups or companies, disease management, to check on patients to see how they're doing, and also help people facilitate kidney transplant when he was in fact looking for his own transplant. Now, Alex says he was part of a value-based kidney company helping patients who were early diagnosed with chronic kidney disease. And even after this transplant, he looks forward to still working in the kidney disease space. Matter of fact, let me let Alex tell you himself. Let's welcome Alex Berrios. We got to give him the VIP welcome. Here we go. Hey, Alex, what's going on?
Hey, Steve. Good evening, man. Good evening. Thank you so much for this introduction. Thank you for bringing me back. It's been too long, man. Too long, and I'm glad I'm here tonight. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for suggesting. And we have Elizabeth Sterling, also known as Liz, saying hello.
Hey, Liz.
And I know you know Liz. She's
I do.
in the kidney disease space advocate as well. Mm-hmm. Also, she does home hemodialysis with the Next Stage machine.
Okay.
So
yeah,
we hope to get her on sometime soon to show us her experience doing the treatment for home dialysis.
Great. Oh, that's wonderful. That'll be good.
Yeah. So Alex, man, it's been a minute, man, since we last talked. Not last talk, but had a show.
Correct.
2018, I believe it was, and you shared your journey. So how has it been since, man?
All right. So where do I want to begin? So when we last spoke in 2018, I was transplanted and I was doing some advocacy work with a variety of different organizations, between stuff with the National Kidney Foundation, working with AAKP, doing some local things within the state of Kentucky where I live, working for the University of Kentucky and their transplant program, helping do advocacy work and kind of being a liaison between the patient, the dialysis clinic, and the transplant center in Kentucky at the University of Kentucky. I did that for 2 years, talking to patients in all walks of life, and would travel from one end of the state to the other. So I did that for 2 years, and then COVID happened. And between not being able to work anymore because we weren't able to kind of be, social distancing, and everything was so new to the pandemic. I had to leave that job, and it actually ended up being kind of a blessing in disguise, because in July of 2020, it was a tough year for everybody, and it was tough for me. I lost family members, but I also lost my kidney, my transplanted kidney, my first transplanted kidney during COVID. And so I had to go on dialysis and start that process. And so doing dialysis the second time around, I kind of had learned and knew what I wanted to try. I didn't want to necessarily go in center right away. And with COVID, I knew that PD was an option for me. So I did PD for about a year and a half. And in that year and a half, found that it really wasn't the best fit for me. I definitely think that for people, it is a good option for full autonomy. But I think under the circumstances of being during COVID, when we had to be in our homes a lot of the time, we had to stay kind of confined to our family, I was getting all of my supplies all at once. And so between being in a 3-bedroom apartment with 2 dogs, my kids, and my fiance at the time, there was no chance to kind of break away from it. And it was mentally draining for me. And it was really a struggle. PD for me at that time wasn't good. I ended up getting peritonitis. And so I had to go to the hospital, get some medicine. And in that time frame, the medicine they give you for peritonitis is vancomycin. Well, I found out I'm deathly allergic to vancomycin through IV. And so I had red man syndrome, had skin all my skin was peeling off. I was septic. It was a really bad touch and go situation for about 2 weeks. They were able to obviously give me the medicine and clear up the infection, and they know now I can never take vancomycin. And so that was during my PD time during like 2021 to 2022. So then with them pulling my PD catheter, they're like, well, you'll need to go back on in-center dialysis. I actually was okay with that. I'm a social person, so I enjoyed being able to talk to the patients, and being in the chair and getting to know the staff and having, be my own best advocate, but also just kind of know where I was doing my dialysis, where people were, where they were with their journey with dialysis, either long-term or short-term. So, and me being in the chair, knowing I had been through this before, it was just what I had to do. And so I did dialysis for both in-center and hemo 5.5 years. And it didn't look like I was going to have any chance to get a new kidney, due to the fact that I had one other kidney transplant. I had high panel reactive antibodies, PRA, of almost 99.98. So pretty much 100%, which if your audience doesn't know, I'll kind of explain it in layman's terms. It's basically saying that if there were 100 kidneys under like a microscope, and they put my kidney cells and the prospective donor cell together, my body would automatically say, nope, it's positive. You're not going to match anybody. So the likelihood of me getting a kidney transplant from anybody at this point, really, I've heard from different teams of doctors I've worked with, and I'll get into that later, but different physicians, different nephrologists, they were saying it's going to be like you winning the lottery, a needle in a haystack to find you that perfect match. So over the years, over 5.5 years, I knew where I lived in Kentucky that it was going to be challenging to find a transplant center that would help to maybe lower those antibodies, because there was not any chance that it was going to ever get lowered at any point. There are certain protocols, there are certain things out there now in different centers around the country where they can help lower those antibodies with plasmapheresis or IVIG. There's other up and coming new medicines that's coming down the pike, that's still waiting on some FDA approval, but that will be available in the future. So as I was kind of waiting for this regular kidney to come, knowing my antibodies were so high, I needed to kind of look at, as my own self-advocate, I made the choice to look at what other options are within driving distance or either coast, either California or New York. And so I reached out to some of the networks and the connections I've made with the work I've done as an advocate, but also just some of the, just some of the doctors I've met over the years and some of the conversations I've had. And so how I got this new kidney was one of the doctors I worked with at UK when I was during my transplant time, my first transplant, when I was doing advocacy, one of our surgeons who I worked with had recently moved on from UK to NYU in New York City. And so I had actually kind of forgotten that he had moved to NYU. We had kept in touch, but just had forgotten that he'd gone there. And so I was just kind of doing my due diligence and looking at NYU and their history of what they do with transplants, and what their kind of their gig is on how they kind of look at taking more innovation and more, I wouldn't say high risk, but just more chances with people like myself. And I saw that this doctor who I knew, who I worked with at UK, had gone to NYU. So I reached out to him and I said, "Are you still at NYU? And if I was interested in wanting to talk to your team and get evaluated, what do you think my chances are?" He's like, "If you can get to New York, I can't promise you a kidney, but I'll try my hardest." So about 2.5 years into my 5.5 years, I went to New York City and did the evaluation, and had to wait. I had to wait about 1.5 to 2 years before my call. I'll stop there. And you have any other questions you have for me?
Wow, man. Just hearing that, I know there's a lot in between that, but you kind of summed it up. But for many people who didn't see our first interview, just joining my show, or don't know you,
Mm-hmm.
let's take them back from the beginning. So
Sure.
my first question would be, how were you first diagnosed with kidney disease?
Sure.
And what do you remember from that moment?
Yep. So it was in 2007. I had just moved, or no, 2006, excuse me, 2006. I had just moved to Kentucky from having a year in Arizona. I was living in Arizona after I graduated from college in 2004. I was in Arizona for 1 year. And there, I was in northern Arizona in the Grand Canyon. It was there where I was hiking the Grand Canyon and just enjoying the nature of the Southwest. Didn't know anybody from in Arizona at all. I just kind of went sight unseen. And while on my days off, I would hike, and on my days where I worked there, I just worked in one of the restaurants on the rim of the Grand Canyon, and that's how I made my money and survived and lived there. Had a blast there in that first year. I met a woman from Kentucky, and we fell in love, and I followed her back in October of 2005. In February of 2006, I had some blood work done, and I had a really, really high blood pressure. My blood pressure was like 230 over 140. Didn't know exactly what that really meant, except that it was high. I was feeling bad. I was vomiting. Couldn't keep anything down. Went to the emergency room for 3 days with no insurance, and had a boatload of tests run. They did an ultrasound of my stomach, of all my organs, and they said, "Hey, where's your other kidney?" I was like, "Other kidney? Don't I have two?" And they're like, "Yeah, we only see one." I was like, "Wow, okay." So yeah, I was born with one kidney. Apparently, I got to back up first. I was a preemie, so we find out that I was born at 27 weeks at 1 pound and 3 ounces. So I was really, really small. I was a NICU baby.
So you've been a fighter all your life, Alex.
Yeah, yes, yeah. Apparently.
I can see that determination with you, hanging in there for the second transplant, because that could have, demoralized a lot of people to say, "No, I'm not going to even."
Try.
You were very.
I knew it. I have a purpose. I know I have a purpose, and so in 2006, I was diagnosed with kidney disease. Found out I was only born with the one. Had to do in-center hemodialysis for 18 months. At that point in 2006 and into that 18 months, not one doctor shared with me modality education. Didn't know about PD. Didn't know about home dialysis. So I just knew in-center. I was probably the youngest by like 35 years. I was 26, and so I was definitely one of the youngest patients there at my clinic. So that was my first go around. So 18 months, which at the time, 18 months then felt like a long time compared to what I just went through for 5.5 years. Oh, the drop in the bucket, that was nothing. But so 18 months, and I was talking to my church family the church I was attending at the time, and the lady behind me decided who had heard my story, was like, "Hey, I'd like to try to see if I can be your donor." And I said, "Are you sure?" And so she went through the testing, and in June of 2007, we found out she was a match, or May, actually, the month before. In June of 2007, we found out she was a match. We had the surgery. It went off without a hitch. She was actually, for a non-related living donor, she was almost a perfect match. No issues at all. And then, so that's how I found out I dealt with kidney disease and how I got this first kidney transplant.
So now, for people who may be watching, who may be on the fringes of possibly starting dialysis, have a family member, you mentioned that you were able to experience two different type of modalities, PD and HD. Now, what were the biggest differences and challenges between PD and in-center hemodialysis for you?
For me, the challenge, I think, for PD, again, because it was happening during COVID, there was limited help. I mean, and the training I went through, I felt, looking back at it now, kind of hindsight, it was not necessary. It was kind of rushed, I felt. And I didn't feel comfortable or confident that I could do it well enough, like keeping things clean. And, again, having 2 kids and 2 dogs and everything in my home, like keeping things as pristine and clean and like, what's the word I'm looking for? Like septic? No, not septic. Just really, really clean. Yeah. And like making sure that you're always using, like, you're washing behind you, because germs are really easily to get, you can get sick, or you can get
right
because of PD. So that was probably one of the challenges. and kind of feeling again alone, not alone because my family was there, but like just isolated in my home and like not being able to really, that was probably part of it. And I think one of the other challenges too was I was on a cycler for the last 6 months, I would say, and having to do the cycler, I had to run like 9 or 10 hours. So like when I had to go to sleep at night, I was going to bed at like 8 o'clock, 8:30 because I had to wake up early enough. Part of my responsibility with my young children was I had to bring them to school the next morning. So I had to make sure I was done on my machine in time to go to bed early enough to get them up in the morning to make sure I was done with my machine at a reasonable time. And then doing the not the cycler, but like doing the manuals, that kind of became sort of redundant too. Like I felt like it would break up my day too much to have to sit there and drain and dwell and all those. It just wasn't for me. I know for people love it, and I give people a lot of credit for it. But those were my challenges. And of course, my challenges for HD and being in clinic, of course, is I did first shift for, thank you, Liz. Yeah, that was word, which she used the word I was looking for. And so I think with HD, part of it was, I think I did 3 days a week. I did Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And I was the first shift. I was there at like 5:30.
Yeah.
I want to
know, huh?
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, knowledge. We got Jonathan on here. Hope with Jonathan.
I like Jonathan. Yeah.
And it almost feel like I'm be honest with you, a family reunion because, before really this TikTok went off, we were trying to do kidney disease awareness education back in 2018. Hope with Jonathan, Uncle Jim, Jared, his brother. I mean, we was, really getting these posters, trying to get people. Yeah. I mean, we was trying to definitely put a sincere effort out there to do this. And it was just good to see Hope with Jonathan because I'm not sure if he still does his podcast, but it would just be great to just kind of see a reunited of podcasts and education shows again, like we were back then.
I remember. Go ahead.
Let me ask you, what stands out from your first transplant experience? Does anything stand out from
the first
transplant experience that you?
I would say the biggest thing that stands out are two things. I mean, one, the in between years. I mean, I was 2006 to 2020, so that's 20 years in between transplants, or almost 20 years. And what's interesting is, at the time, my first one, I was in a relationship, and it was my first wife, and we were together for almost a decade, and unfortunately, that was a struggle. I'll be honest with you, that was a struggle because we kind of were robbed a chance to have any kind of relationship. We were patient and caregiver so immediately when I first met her and we first got together, or when I moved from Arizona to Kentucky. And so there was a lot of struggle there. And that was definitely a standout difference. Whereas now I have 2 kids, divorced, and in a great partnership now. And it's I learned a lot about myself through that transplant. I wasn't a father at the time. Now I am. Like, I think medicine wise, nothing has changed. It's all the same medicine. Like, which is funny, in 20 years, I still take the same medicines I took the first time. So none of that that hadn't changed for me. I would say, like, obviously the standout of the first one was in Kentucky and local. So I wasn't going far away. Whereas here I'm in New York City. So there's a lot of differences in physically where I'm at. So yeah.
Right. So we know you told us what led to you needing a second transplant. But how did you prepare differently this time?
So for this second kidney, I couldn't really prepare well. It was a deceased donor. So the first one I was able to prepare, we knew how to schedule the surgery, and I kind of knew what was happening. It was a slow process. This one, this second kidney transplant started, like I said, I got it on February 22nd. I got a phone. This is how this story started. So I got a phone call from that same doctor who I knew I worked with at UK, and he called me up on a Friday night. I was getting ready to sit down to have some dinner with my family, watch a TV show, and he was like, "Are you sitting down?" And at first, I was like, "Is it okay if we can talk this later on Monday?" There were some other things that were happening in the background about me possibly getting a xenotransplant. I'll get into that in a few minutes, but And so I thought that's what he was telling me about, was that he was trying to encourage me to go the xeno route, because I didn't think I was ever going to get a human kidney. I just didn't think it. So he's like, no, you need to call me now. I'm like, okay. So I gave him a call back, and he called me and said, I think I have a kidney for you. I'm like, a human one? And he's like, yes, a deceased donor from New Jersey. Can you get here by Saturday night? This is Friday night. Can you get here by Saturday? I'm like, I think I can. He's like, I'll keep you in the loop to make sure that it's a good kidney. And I was like, okay. Oh no, Liz, I was late for dialysis that morning. I got the call. The call happened on a Friday night. So no, I had already done dialysis Friday morning.
Oh, okay.
It was a Friday night call. I did dialysis Friday morning. Would have had to do it Monday. So back to the story. So I paid for it, a plane ticket, kind of unknown to know if this kidney was going to be mine or not. So I was cautiously optimistic. I was like, because there's a chance that it's not viable, the chance that it gets in transition from it coming off the ice. I mean, there's so many factors that could play a role in it not being actually my kidney. And so I bought the ticket and flew into New York City Saturday night. Now, if anybody remembers that week in February, that weekend, New York City was going through a blizzard of like 2 feet of snow. So I had to make sure I got into the city before the snow came. And I barely, up by the skin of my teeth, barely made that flight. I got from Louisville, Kentucky to Detroit. In Detroit, at about midnight, they had a bunch of snow and they were delaying my flight. I didn't get into New York City till Sunday morning at 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning, Sunday morning.
Wow.
I was transplanted at noon that afternoon on Sunday the 22nd.
Wow, that was really fast.
Yeah, it was really fast. It was an 8-hour surgery.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Did they remove the old kidney?
No, they keep it there. They don't remove it. It's not necessary to remove the kidney unless it's hurting me. But yeah, it wasn't hurting me.
Wow. So, damn, man, I never heard. Wow. So you landed at the airport. So I guess you went straight from the airport to the hospital.
I did. My sister picked me up and she brought me right to the hospital. They did all the tests, made sure I didn't have MRSA, COVID, any kind of infection. Because if you don't get an infection, then you're not able to get the kidney. I had no infection. I was good.
Right. Jonathan had a question for you.
I see it. Yeah. Jonathan, it has definitely not been easy. I definitely would say I am appreciative of my family. I have family here in New York City. I'm staying with my sister. My mom's in Connecticut. So I've had them coming in and helping me as I recover from this. Like I said, today's week 5 of the kidney. And I said, what would I recommend for patients who take a kidney far from home? If you can, try to find a support person in that city that you're going to be evaluating with. If you're wherever you are, if you're going to somewhere in Florida or New York or wherever you're going, if you have to go from far away, try to see if you can find somebody who can kind of be with you as your care partner as you're going through the journey. I know it's not easy for everybody. I'm just fortunate. I think part of the reason why I picked NYU was because I knew I had family I asked them before I did the evaluation. I said, if I work with New York, I asked my family, would they be able to help me out? And they've been here helping me out. So that's what I would suggest, is to see, before you take that leap to evaluate or to get an evaluation in another state, make sure that you have somebody in place that can work with you post-transplant and be with you as you're going to your appointments, things like that.
Good answer. So, Alex, and I know you shared that you had some hiccups, but what bumps have you encountered in your recovery so far, and how are you managing them?
Yeah. So in the 5 weeks I've been recovering now, I would say the bumps I've had a couple. I've had a mild infection in the wound site of where they opened me up to put the kidney in, and so for about 4 or 5 days I was on some antibiotics to clear that, and then also because they had to open up my wound a little bit more because my drainage of the fluid, it's kind of as it's healing, was draining too much. So I have to wear a wound vac right now. And so I'm wearing this wound vac now. This is week 3 or 4 of it. I can't quite remember, but I'm wearing a wound vac right now that I have to wear with me as the wound heals. and I'll be here in the city of New York for the foreseeable future until the wound heals. They don't find it safe for me to travel back to Kentucky because my kidney numbers right now are great. Creatinine's at 1.7. My GFR is at like 45%. It's a DCD kidney. So it was one that was kind of a sleepy kidney. So it took a little while to kind of work its way out, but it's doing well now. I can't hear you.
I'm sorry. We have someone I just joined. JR Grandis 69. Thank you for your question.
Yeah.
He says, so you didn't go through the CKD stages. You just went straight in the transplant. And that's not the case because you had a transplant before and it rejected. But before your first transplant, did you go through the stages or did you find out and you then had to go on like emergent dialysis?
Yeah, the latter. So the first kidney transplant was I crashed into dialysis, it was emergent, and I had no chance to like know my status. I think I was immediately stage 5 and had to go on dialysis quickly. So I didn't start slowly. I went pretty immediate.
Right. I want to acknowledge another friend of mine from TikTok here,
Sure.
Ashley. She's kidney warrior on dialysis. She's getting ready to go back. She's getting ready to go back on the PD. She had to take a small break. Alex used to do PD as well, Ashley. So
yeah, I hope it goes well for you. I give people a lot of credit for doing it, sticking it out. For me, it just wasn't the best fit, but I know that it works for people, so I'm glad.
Okay, now I'm kind of giving thumbs up
because go for it.
The people from TikTok over here, I just want to acknowledge them and let them know thank you.
Of course.
It's just been a struggle, man, trying to get viewership to get this information out there that we know can help people.
Yeah, exactly.
That's going through the same struggles.
Mm-hmm. It is.
And the thing about your story, Alex, is your resilience because as I mentioned before, you had one transplant and rejected. You could have gave up and just said, forget about it. Because I've seen in my career many patients at the clinic that reject and say, I'm not going to go back for it. I'm not ready, right? They're not mentally ready to go back through that. And that's okay.
Yeah, that is okay. I give people, everyone's journey is everyone's journey. And I respect where they are and I meet them where they are and the work. And it's funny you say that. I think when I was transplanted and when I was doing that work with the University of Kentucky, I found the same thing talking to patients who just felt like they were not ready to do it. And that's okay. That, everyone has their reason why they don't want to do it. And, I asked them some open-ended questioning to think about like, what are they missing when they're in the chair or what are they, the process isn't easy, but it's not hard either. I mean, it's not that it's doable. You just have to, have people who are going to be doing it,
Yeah. We had Brandy McQueen. She said she's been doing PD for 5 years. And Alex, I'm a home therapy nurse now. So I do PD. Now I got to go for my training for next stage.
Okay.
I got to go to Texas, but I'm not going no time soon with these TSA lines.
Yeah, man. Right. Yeah.
And Jonathan, he wished you all the best.
Thank you.
Oh, Brandy wants to know, and this is a good question that may help other people who may be going through this.
Yeah.
He says, why was your antibody so high?
Yeah. So Brandy, thank you for asking that question. It's what I've understood about how antibodies work are, for me as a male, because I've had an organ transplant, a lot of the 2 factors that really play a role for men, and I'll mention for women what I've heard too, but for men, generally high antibodies are created when you've either had an organ transplant or you've had a blood transfusion in your life, which I've had both. I was an infant when I had a blood transfusion, and then with my first kidney failing, it just caused a lot of high antibodies to be so high. And I understand for women, it's those same 2 things, but then added if you've been pregnant before. I think pregnancy can cause high antibodies for women. That's how I understand it. So for me, it was just the blood transfusion and the previous organ transplant that caused the antibodies to be high. As a matter of fact, they're still high, and they still test me for what we call donor-specific antibodies to make sure my body hasn't created anything specific to the deceased donor I received. And as of right now, 5 weeks in, I've not had any. I've not had three. I've had 3 DSA tests come back non-detected of any antibodies. So far I'm good. Good. Knock on wood.
Yeah. So Alex, I mean, you had many experience with this, going on panels and different studies. Brandy is having the same issue. What, just from your experience, what would you suggest to her to help her get on a direction of trying to reduce her antibody count and, moving forward and trying to get a transplant?
Yeah. So Brandy, so I'm sorry you're having that same problem. And I have been hearing that a lot from other patients I've spoken with. What I have been told that the best way to kind of help lower those antibodies is to find a transplant center that does either clinical trials or does any kind of what they call desensitization protocols, where they can give you certain medicines to help lower those antibodies. And I don't, again, know where you live, but I mean, you would need to find a center that, you could either, Google what centers have desensitization protocols in your city or near you. And you can find out from those centers, what that could look like and travel, if you can travel to those centers to get that protocol done, to lower those antibodies, to then increase your chance of getting, a transplant. I went through NYU twice. First time for a trial to help lower the antibodies. It didn't work. It didn't work. But I was able to, again, fortunately get this kidney here that I'm working with now, and it didn't go against any of my antibodies.
Oh, okay. You know anything out in Las Vegas?
I'm looking. Not really. I can do some digging. Brandon, let's reconnect offline, and I can see if I can find some stuff.
Okay. And I share at the end, you can share where she can find you.
Yeah, we will.
And you mentioned my friend Ash said that that's what they told her. Her antibodies were high from transfusion and pregnancy.
Yep. Yeah. So you can find if you can find a center that works with the name, it's called desensitization, and not every center does it. Where I live in Kentucky, none of the centers near me did it. So that's why I looked at Chicago. I've looked at NYU. I was actually going to look at like Emory in Atlanta. I was, before NYU came through, I was looking at protocols to kind of lower those antibodies as well.
Wow. Great information, Alex. Sure. Let me ask you, based on your experience with the value-based kidney companies you work with and your experience, what are the biggest gaps in kidney care or patient support today that you see?
I think a lot of it comes from, sometimes it's a combination of the doctors not having enough I wouldn't say wherewithal, but sometimes some of the doctors you talk to get so focused on just like the medicine behind, without really truly explaining what they're doing for the patient. Sometimes it's the empathy of the doctor. Sometimes with the value-based care, sometimes it's a lot of it's sometimes other patients. Sometimes patients too, I think, struggle at times of being able to feel confident enough to talk to the doctors about what they're going through and getting the care that they want from the doctors they're talking to. And I always say to patients too, it's okay to fire your doctor. I mean, you don't have to stay with the same doctor that you may have been given, or you can do your due diligence and find a nephrologist that's in your community that you can see the reviews, you can see what's out there. You don't have to stay with the doctor that you're given all the time. And so that's something to think about as well. But yeah, I think with value-based care, I think a lot of it has to do sometimes with a lot of these centers, both community nephrologists and transplant nephrologists, all, I think, finding the center that's more patient focused and not just looking at outcomes. Because I always say to people, we're more than just a data point that you see on a piece of paper when you get your labs and you see like phosphorus or you see your BUN or your creatinine, and it may be high or low or whatever. I think when you look at those numbers, I think sometimes patients who are on dialysis who are waiting for a transplant, if they have high phosphorus or their PTH is high or they're dealing with calcium or issues, whatever that's looking like, sometimes that patient, there's more than just those numbers. And so I think having a doctor be able to understand and kind of empathize with the patient goes a long way, and giving the patient autonomy and confidence that they can, and empowerment to give them the choice to say this is what they want to do for transplant, or this is what they want to do for dialysis. If they want to change their, I think sometimes with dialysis patients, you should be able to talk to your care team about wanting to change your time. There is a particular prescription, of course, but I think that if you feel you're always cramping or you're always having bad, tough treatment times, maybe it's something that they're doing with the machine. I had an issue at my dialysis where I was having vertigo and I was having brain fog, and they were able to lower my speed from 450 to 400, and then even to 350. It didn't clot, but I was able to keep it lower so it wasn't happening so fast, and the blood wasn't being cleaned so fast that I was having issues with clots or issues with.
Were you still getting?
Oh, me and my KT over V was fine. Yeah, I was still clearance. I was still being able to clear. Yeah.
Wow. Mm-hmm. So let me shift this question a little bit. We don't have much time, but sure. I just want to ask you a couple of questions because I've been noticing, not just on social media, but in other spaces of people who've gotten kidney transplants. Some wearing masks and some that don't wear masks. You got difference of opinion. Mm-hmm. And so my question to you is, you're about 2 months post-transplant.
5, yeah, almost there. 5 years. Yeah.
How do you decide when to wear a mask and when not to?
So for me, it's all about my surroundings. If I'm in a single space by myself and I don't have anybody around me that I know has been sick, or I'm not going to wear the mask. I haven't worn it yet. Knock on wood, I've been okay. But if I know I'm going to be in a big crowd, like if I'm going to be in a subway station or in a train, bus, any kind of theater or a ballpark at a stadium, I'll wear a mask then. So that's just my opinion, and I've been fortunate. That's just what I know. If I'm in close proximity to people, like elbow to elbow, shoulder to shoulder, I know I'm going to wear a mask then. And then of course, if I'm in a room, if I know is coming over, like I've had people tell me, "Hey, I want to come visit you, but I'm sick." I'm like, "Yeah, don't come over. I'd rather you get better and then come back to me when you're better." Even if I wear a mask, I'm going to make sure I don't want to take my chances. So that's my opinion. I mean, people can wear it all the time, and I get it. I know the first time I wore it a lot. Obviously during COVID we wore them too, but that's kind of where I stand.
So. Sure. Yeah. So what has your transplant team advised you about wearing masks during recovery? Have they they've mentioned a couple of times, like now I think more about it, like when I first came out of the hospital room, I would do my walking around to kind of gain the stamina. I wore a mask then in the hospital around like the unit because I was freshly 2 days out, 3 days out, 4 days out. So I wore it. But then like after like the first week, I didn't wear it as much. And then obviously in the room I was in, I didn't wear it. I would wear it only like if they knew they were going to do something toward like if they had to change a wound or something like that, or they were going to, and then I would put it on. But yeah, and they would remind me, but they didn't seem to press me on it, but they were, they were just like, "Hey, and they gave me the same suggestion I did. Like if I'm in big crowds or something like that, then I would have to be mindful of it." Mm-hmm. Okay, where can we contact you at? He's going to give you before we go. He's on social media, right? He's going to give it to you before you get out of here. So let me ask you, Alex, how does your immunosuppression level affect how cautious you feel day to day?
So far, I haven't. I mean, from the first time to the second time, I don't think it has affected me nearly as much. Like I hear a lot of the same symptoms people talk about with the immunosuppressives. I haven't felt anything out of the ordinary. I don't have the shakes from the tacrolimus yet. I don't feel that with mycophenolate. They say you get stomach issues. Knock on wood. I haven't had any of those. So I haven't. It hasn't really. I mean, I take them like exactly how I'm supposed to take them, but I've not had any symptoms that I would be yet.
My friend Josh O from TikTok, he says, how has this affected your mental health? This whole transplant, getting the transplant, and everything up to this point. How has that impacted your mental health?
Thank you for that question. That's a very, very good question, because honestly, before the transplant, I'll speak before that and then go into my transplant. Like, my mental health was definitely not great. I was definitely needing to see a therapist and a counselor. Work was definitely hard for me. I was working full time for most of the time while I was doing dialysis. And so, the mental health, now the transplant, I actually feel a lot clearer minded. I feel more like almost like a cloud is lifted over me right now. I feel a lot healthier. I feel like ready to kind of take on the world. I know that's not for everybody. I've read many stories of patients who have struggled with transplants, and have had mental health issues, but I've been fortunate enough to, so far, 5 weeks in, I'm just feeling really, really good.
I had a question from my friend Ash. How can she find therapy for the antibodies? Did she ask her transplant center?
You can see that if whoever you're working with, you can ask if they have what they call desensitization protocols or therapies for it. And if they don't know, or if they don't do it themselves, you could always look at other centers that might be near you, wherever you live, and just kind of look in Google desensitization protocol and, near me, wherever you live, and it should show you the different centers that are relatively close to you to be able to find those if your home center doesn't do it.
Great, man. Great. Hey man, I lost my question. Here we go.
You're good. You're good.
So, what is one practical piece of advice would you give someone newly diagnosed or starting dialysis?
I would say it really varies depending on if you have time to kind of get yourself ready for dialysis versus crashing in. I think no matter what, if you can find support through your family or a friend or somebody, even at the dialysis clinic when you start, finding somebody who you feel you can talk to, who can kind of either speak on your behalf as well, finding like a champion. One of the things I've always advocated for is kind of having that patient advocate that's part of the care team with dialysis clinics, because I think in the care team, you work with a nephrologist, you'll work with a dietitian, a social worker, and then a technician, and they'll work with you with your care plan. But there's never anybody who kind of is like a lay person or an advocate who can kind of sort of be like a dialysis whisperer and kind of help translate for you what they're telling you and give you kind of that guidance. That's something I think is really important for somebody who's new to dialysis, is to really, one, have a support system, find somebody who you can trust, who can speak with you or on your behalf. That'd be my first practical thing. And then again, bring a notebook with you and ask any and every kind of question you have as you start this process. Because sometimes my first time I crashed into it, didn't have any chance to know or understand what was happening. So the second go around, I had, in those 13 years with my first transplant, I was able to kind of do my due diligence and find my voice with it. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. We're kind of getting down to it. So I want to ask you, how can listeners support organ donation and get involved with your advocacy moving forward?
Yeah, so I think really, if you are interested in wanting to advocate for yourself or for others, really look at your local chapters in your state, if there's a National Kidney Foundation. Look also, a lot of times we're able to find things through social media. There are other, like what we call organ procurement organizations that might be in your city or town. that can help kind of give you volunteering and opportunities to talk about the importance of living donation and organ donation as a whole, not just kidney, but all other organs as well. So I think really finding those groups, we're always looking for advocates and always people to speak their mind and share their stories, because our stories are powerful, are so powerful. We go a long way in sharing our stories with people who want to help kind of make waves and make change with kidney disease, both with dialysis, with PD, with home, with transplant. It's all important. And I know, you can't answer all the questions all at once, but we can kind of focus on one or the other. It be either dialysis or transplantation. They're both, our stories are important nonetheless.
So, how can people get in touch with you, Alex?
Yeah. So, sure. I can also, if there's a way I can just tell you that. So on Facebook, I can give you, it's simply Alex Berrios. I'm going to look it up right now, make sure I'm giving to you right. Yeah, it's facebook.com / my full name, Alexander.Berrios. That's my main focus. And then I'm also on LinkedIn. And then I'm also on Instagram at Berriosa A1234.
So what is Facebook?
Facebook is, let me give you this. So it's facebook.com / Alexander.Berrios, Berrios. And then on Instagram, it is, let me see.
How you spell your Alexander?
ALEXANDER.Berrios, BERRIOS.
All right, let me just put that up there.
Yeah, sure.
At the banner.
Mm-hmm.
That's where you can find us. Is that right?
Yeah, that's where you can find me. Yep. And then I'm trying to figure out where hold on a second. It's funny. I'm kind of new to Instagram, so I'm trying to figure out where it is for me. Let's see. Give me a second. Let's see here. Let's see. Okay, yeah. So my handle on Instagram is my last name, Berrios, BERRIOS, the letter A, 1234 on Instagram.
BERRIOS.
1234.
Uh-huh.
And that's for Instagram.
Okay. Let me see.
Mm-hmm.
There we
and
go.
then my LinkedIn is, if you guys are on LinkedIn, is linkedin.com /IN /Alexander and then dash my last name, Berrios.
All right. Spell that. That's a lot.
It is. Yeah. I'll give it to you. Yeah. So it's LinkedIn, LinkedIn.com.
And then KIN.
Mm-hmm.
So spell that one more time. I'm sorry.
That's okay. And so it's for LinkedIn people, it's LinkedIn, LinkedIn.com.
Okay.
And then .com and then / then my name, Alexander, ALEXANDER.
Okay.
And then there's a what is that? The like the not a dash, but the middle line, middle line, like, and it's like, it's not underscore. Yeah, I guess it's a dash. Okay. A dash, then my last name, Berrios, BERRIOS.
Okay.
Yep. Those are my three. Yep. Perfect. Yep.
All right, there we go. So 3 places you can find them. I'll put them up again. Facebook.com, Alexander Berrios.
Yep.
Instagram, Berrios1234. And LinkedIn.com /Alexander -Berrios. So
perfect. Thank you, man. Yeah.
Great. Absolutely. So, man, we're about down to the wire. Any last words you want to say before we end the show?
Yeah. So I want to first thank you, Steve, for giving me this platform. Like I said, I remember back when we talked in 2018 and having all those years ago and still being able to keep keep our friendship over those years, over those last 8 years that we've had friendship. And I really appreciate, you giving me this platform to talk and share my story and give people hope and give people, education and the chance to kind of, give them hope and understanding to knowing what, if they have questions that I can help them answer. I'm always here to help people in any capacity, to give people support and to make sure that they, get the right information, with either if it's desensitization, if it's dialysis, a modality, if it's transplantation, if it's mental health. I'm just one person, and if I can help one person, then I feel I've done my job. So I appreciate it.
Yeah, many people don't know that we actually met twice in person. I was just
did twice. Yeah,
about it.
We did. That's right.
We met in Silver Spring,
for one thing,
about 5 miles from my house where I'm living, and College Park, which is only 2 miles from where I stay at now, my parents' house.
That's
but
crazy.
2 miles from my parents' house.
That's right. I remember that. Yeah, that was awesome.
Wow. So yeah, no problem, Alex. You got me back inspired to start doing these shows again by even asking me, because I know if I told you yes, that I had to live up to it. I couldn't cancel it or whatever. So, but I appreciate you coming on and sharing your story.
Sure.
Looking forward to seeing some advocacy from you. Whatever you're talking about, your purpose is when it comes to this kidney disease space, whether it's transplant or how you made it through your journey to get to where you're at, whatever it is. I wish you much success and look forward to seeing you, and actually you coming back on maybe about several months to let us know how your journey is going. If you all healed up, you back home with your wife and kids in Kentucky. So I would like to do that follow-up once you get back home and get settled in. Did they say when you'll be able to actually leave New York City?
They're thinking, it depends on how this wound will heal. They're probably thinking late April, early May. So,
Okay. How's it looking? Is it healing?
It's healing from what I can tell. My nurse who comes in to do my change says it's looking good. So I from where it is, I can't really see it. So I think it's healing. Yeah. It's on my left side low. So it's hard I can't really see it well, but everyone's telling me that it's looking good. Yeah. Yep.
All right, man. Well, everybody else, thanks you.
Thank you, everybody,
for coming through. PT, thank you as well.
Cool.
Ashley, thanks for coming in.
Definitely.
Yeah. So, Alex, we'll see you soon, man. I want to drop you down and say a couple of words to my audience, and then I'm going to head out myself. So, again, thank you, my friend, for coming through. I'm wishing you the best.
Thank you.
And say hello to your family.
I will.
And I remember when your kids were small, and now
they're 15 and 10. Yep.
Yeah, they are. Wow, man.
Yeah.
Man. You did good, Alex, man. Congratulations to you. And best of luck, man. I'll talk to you soon.
All right. See you.
All right. Take care. Bye-bye. Yeah, Alex and I, we go back a long way. In fact, like I said, he came for advocacy in the DC area. He came near my house. Like I said, one time, 5 miles, Silver Spring, Maryland, and another just right around the corner, 2 miles. I came to see him over in College Park. And in fact, I got to go that way. I got to go that way tonight to College Park to charge my car. Yeah, I got electric car I got to charge up. Thank you, Ash. I appreciate you. And I want to thank my friends from TikTok for coming over for the support. Who came over. Thank you so much. Josh O, Ash, McQueen, P. Teach. Thank you so much for showing up. It really means a lot. You can't imagine. That's one of the reasons why I kind of took a hiatus, because of the lack of, not support. I'm always going to probably have a base support, but getting the information out there to individuals who could benefit from this information. That's all. So, next Sunday, We was on early this morning, Brother Moses and I, for Kidney Hub East Africa. But yeah, Pete Teach, next Sunday, we're going to try to do this every Sunday. Hey, thank you, Joshua. I appreciate you. You know, like we used to do it. So with that being said, let me sign out. I see everyone later. If you go to treatment tomorrow, have a safe treatment. Again, thank you so much for the support. And we're going to keep coming, regardless if it's 1 or 1,000. We're going to keep coming with the kidney disease information consistently. So whoever wants to learn it, it can get the information. With that being said, God bless, and we'll see you soon. All right? Take care. Peace.
Warriors around, don't get caught in the mosh pit. Fuel to the fire, ain't nobody can stop it. Trouble in my city, but you know I'm across it. Got a 40 on my hip and I'm liable to spark it. Throw down these hits, my click is indivisible. I aim, you duck, I squeeze, now you invisible. I'm not afraid of getting physical. All these different chemicals are fogging up my visuals. Bloods on my hands, got slugs on my gunners. Yo, we notorious, we ain't no runners. Bloods on my hands, got slugs on my gunners. Yo, we some warriors, they ain't called gunners. Bloods on my hands, got slugs on my gunners. Bloods on my hands, got slugs on my gunners. Put on my sweat, put on the beat, put on the map, put on my team. Take out every motherfucker in between. Know what I mean? Better myself, better my aim, better my rap, better my name. Killing rappers on my hang, I'm by their chains for the fame. Never thought I would, and now I'm running. You don't wanna follow me, no, I'm